Welcome to the Teacher's Toolkit for Literacy, the free podcast for motivated teachers and school leaders who want to inspire their students and school community in literacy learning. Make sure you subscribe to the show on your favourite podcast player, and for more amazing literacy resources, check out the show notes provided with every episode.
Hi, I'm Sharon, and I'm the host of a Teacher's Toolkit for Literacy. In every Toolkit episode, we bring you specific resources, tools, strategies, tips, techniques to help you in your job as a teacher of literacy. Firstly, we acknowledge and pay our respects to the Kaurna people, the traditional custodians whose ancestral lands we gather on. We acknowledge the deep feelings of attachment and relationship of the Kaurna people to country, and we respect and value their past, present, and ongoing connection to the land and cultural beliefs.
Thank you for joining us for part 2 of our podcast, Making Connections. And on with the show. Perhaps we'll highlight some of the questions teachers were asking in the sessions.
Okay, so on the spelling day, I have to say this would be, spelling and word work day, this is the question that was on everybody's, at the forefront of everybody's minds. And it was like, okay, we know what we don't want to be doing in spelling.
Yep. Oh.
But what instead?
Yep.
If it's not this,
yep,
then what?
Okay.
So that was like that was the fundamental question from everybody, saying, that's my, and how do we connect it?
Yep. Because
if it's, most people feel that the way they're currently doing spelling isn't connected, and so that was one of the key questions.
We've just talked
about that.
Yep.
In reading, this was the biggest question that was repeated across the group, was how do we explain and demonstrate and not fall into the maxi lesson? This is a word that came up on both the reading day and the writing day. How do we not get into deconstruction of text? How do we not pull a text apart so that we understand, every little bit of that? This is even at the primary levels. How do we keep the mini lesson to a mini lesson of what is it that we are choosing to explain and demonstrate in a really efficient way, which then really draws us back to those instructional strategies of using the read aloud and using our shared reading.
So you went into talking about all that, and
yes,
we've already explained that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
For really the reading and the writing day, it was a lot of talk then about how do we build reading and writing communities in our classroom. And what are those things that we are chasing down about that? To set up a reading and writing community, they're really our beginning of year elements.
And there's a whole series of mini lessons you could be doing in that area.
About what are actually the routines and expectations we have for our readers and our writers. And actually to make the full connection, a reader's or a writer's workshop is that opportunity to bring all of those elements together of that demonstration, explanation, demonstration in a mini lesson, that opportunity to practice, and that opportunity to share. So setting up our community of readers and writers is really about setting up the routines and expectations that we have for our students about how they are going to be active readers and writers in this classroom every day this year. So that in that way we're getting all of us into the habit of being a reader and writer who is tapping into, who is tuning into mini lessons and those explanations and demonstrations of just what's needed for us, because we as teacher have noticed what our students need because we've been roving during the independent practice time to see what they need, but to set up that community right from the get-go means that we've got really strong and powerful ways for students to know that they will have a daily expectation to be authentic readers and writers. So just if you're looking for anywhere to go for more information around that in particular, in Fountas and Pinnell's book, Guiding Readers and Writers, grades 3 to 6, there is a section in there called The First 20 Days of Independent Reading, and that's a pretty solid framework for setting up some of those routines and expectations. I think there might be for a couple of grades already, maybe year 1 and year 2, the routines and expectations of the Readers Workshop. But going up will be a little section on establishing a reading community and establishing a writing community across K to year 8.
Right.
So we'll add those resources up there.
And you had a question about writing too from the teachers.
Oh, that question, it doesn't matter where and with whom we're doing a workshop, this question always comes up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always the big dilemma, and that's how do we involve students in the entire writing process and not just in the structure of the writing. And so involving them in the whole writing process means connecting it to our reading, and then connecting it to all of those elements that we started talking about. So what's our message? So ideas. And in fact, the 6+ traits of writing is a really good solid framework around that. And all of those things are reflected in the curriculum. So ideas, organisation, voice, word choice, sentence fluency, conventions, and the plus one of this is presentation. So from year 3 up in the Australian curriculum, our students are drafting or planning, drafting and publishing writing. And we talked a lot about that in the intensive the other day, about how we just can't keep having children write and leaving it sitting on the page, going nowhere. Who's reading it? How is it being published and shared? How is it being made into books, brochures, meaningful?
And again, going back to the fullness of the Australian curriculum to find out what other areas of writing we should be getting into.
Yes, yes. Not just because, remember, it's imaginative and informative and persuasive. And within
each of those,
there's a realm of writing to do.
Teachers have focused on those areas like persuasive writing and narratives because, we're trying to get them ready for those tests. But really to enrich our teaching, we can go way beyond that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say something about that right now. And that is that even with those tests that might have particular types of writing that we're doing, we need to remember that those tests are an opportunity for students to showcase what they can do as writers.
And we have a podcast on that too.
Yes. So really showcasing what they can do. So our year of writing should be rich and varied and expansive and going through an entire writing process of all of those elements, not just getting something down on the page and done, not just filling in this structure and filling in my ideas and dropping in my ideas about that. That's not being a writer. So And to go back to that Australian curriculum again, or on any curriculum, go looking for it. Where does it ask students to experiment and adapt? And wonderful Year 2 class, this is not from the intensives, but wonderful Year 2 class that I'm working with, the teacher, in discovering that piece around adapting and experimenting, has now opened the floodgates to her writers, where they are now with stories that are familiar to them. In fact, what does it say at Year 2? It says, innovate on familiar text by experimenting with character, setting or plot. The most joyous writing, not just joyous, but idea, vocabulary-rich, voice-rich writing that we have seen, both the teacher and I've seen, come from this class this year, because they have chosen a familiar story to adapt and they've gone experimenting with it. Adapting and experimenting, choosing and using, these are active things. These are actions to take. Experimenting, how's that for a great action? Experiment as a writer.
Yep.
So that's why I just find this curriculum so rich and so exciting.
Liberating.
Yeah.
Just as an aside, Sharon,
Yes.
that great podcast we did on from testing to showcasing was podcast 23 for those who are going back to the podcast.
Oh, great.
Yep. Sharon, any useful tips that we haven't mentioned from our previous discussions that you might mention now?
It's really a summary of what we've talked about today, what we've caught today. And I think that is, number one, be over your curriculum. Not over it as in I'm done with it. Be all over it. Know it. Know how rich it is and how it's actually, for us on our Australian curriculum, it builds on every element every year. Like, that is actually exciting. And
what's exciting also is it treats us as professionals.
Yes. And I feel that the curriculum, because it builds on all of these elements, because it is all about learner actions, I actually think, it's sequenced, it's progressive, and I think it has heart. It's got heart because we've got learners at the centre of this. Learner actions. And that's why I think it has true heart. So it's not something being done to us. It's something we are being shown how to do, how to make generalisations, how to experiment, how to use, how to reread, how to edit, how to have an opinion, how to have a preference, that's hard.
Yep.
So I think we can really plan off this curriculum with great joy.
Yep.
With great joy.
And with heart.
So that actually leads me to something that I guess is going to take us full circle, but in each of the days we really kind of wrapped up with this idea that we're all, we want to be wary of the easy. We might wish it was easy, but wish we were better. So be wary of the easy. Anything that promises us that it will be easier for us if we use this, whatever this might be.
Because doing something to make it easy doesn't necessarily make us a better teacher.
No. But so let's say something's come to us that says, oh, this is easy. You just need to do this each day and this will be all taken care of. So we talked each day about this. When we have those things brought to us, be critical and be wise. what parts of this are represented on the curriculum? What part of the curriculum is represented here? Because invariably it won't be the fullness of the curriculum that's represented. It will be part of it, and will it be connected to other parts?
That's the missing piece, isn't it? The connecting to the reading, writing and word work.
Yeah.
Yep.
And in looking at this thing that has come to us, then what parts of the curriculum does it ignore? Because if it's ignoring parts of the curriculum, we're not bringing the fullness, which as teachers, we can make that decision about bringing the fullness. Then here's another critical piece. How much time is this thing
Or program.
Yeah, I just keep calling it a thing. How much time is this thing demanding from our English block? From our 100 minutes a day, how much time is this demanding?
Good point.
And is it connected or is it just in isolation? How much time is it demanding? And so am I going to get the buyback from it? Are my students
taking those reader-writer actions?
Yeah. Is it giving them, through that time spent on it, is it building exactly that? Is it building actions?
And our three selves.
Yeah. Then this thing,
Program.
does it explain and demonstrate better than you can? Because if it's, my guess will 99% of the time, you will be able to explain and demonstrate better.
Can I ask one more question? Can this thing or program know your students better than you can?
Yeah, I've still got 4 more points, Phil.
Oh, I stole one.
I don't know if you've stolen one, but
Good one.
they're a good that's another good thing to ask. So does this thing absolutely know what my students need? Does it allow an entry point for every child today? Does it put a limit on my children today?
Or any of the children?
Because I want an entry point and I want no ceiling for every child every day. So that is a key question then, because here is the thing that we're as teachers, we're trying to chase down. We're trying to differentiate for our students. So does this thing value differentiation? Differentiation, it will value it if there is an entry point for every child, no ceiling, and so therefore differentiation has occurred. So that's another key question. All right. Does this thing value reading and writing and word work practice?
Actually applying your actions in your own reading, writing and word work.
Yes.
Yep.
Does it let your students construct their understanding and give them the opportunity to apply their understanding that's been explained and demonstrated? So does it value the time for them to practice that strategy, that piece in use, rather than deconstruct processes in abstraction?
Some excellent questions there, Sharon.
Yeah, I've got one more.
Oh.
Does it put high expectations on the learners? Because if we're not putting high expectations on the learners through this thing, maybe it's offering our students this will be easy, when in fact what our students also want is for it not just to be easy, but for themselves to be better.
Yeah.
So does this thing enable them to be better?
Yeah. Fantastic. Well put, Sharon.
Thank you.
And I think that really wraps up our topic today, making connections, the literacy teaching game changer. Let's go on to question 2, key question 2. The tool that we emphasised today was the ACARA curriculum, or any curriculum in the world, but that was definitely the tool, wasn't it,
Yes.
Sharon? That is the game changer in your teaching.
Yeah.
Treating you as a professional.
Yeah. And for those of you in Australia, we have in 2022, we've got very little that's changing in the English curriculum in Australia, but the formatting of it is a little bit different. I think the format is, there's really good changes to the formatting of it. So once again, we will put up onto Teachific, we've got the current curriculum in its format, and if you haven't checked it out, it's each year level is divided into all of the language, literature, literacy strand, and all the elements across that. The new curriculum is in the same strands, but with some of the elements combined. So we don't have as many separate boxes. We've got more things beneath those elements. So watch out for, if you're going to be planning, especially if it's into the end of 2021 or the beginning of 2022, have a look on Teachific for the new formatted Australian curriculum. You'll find all the wonderful things there that we've talked about today, all of the actions.
In English.
So know that it is a great planning tool, and it's good to have ourselves being reminded of what actions we're chasing down for our students. Because it's on one page, with headings and subheadings, people find it very easy to be able to dip in and find what it is that they're looking for. The formatting of it, the way it is organised or the categories of it, is from the Australian curriculum, and the Australian curriculum has been, is absolutely encourages that we organise it in a way that's useful for us as a planning tool.
So you've got it as a one-pager, and feedback from teachers is they love that?
Oh, absolutely love it. In fact,
and you blow it up to A3?
Yes, as an A3 document.
Yep.
It's wonderful. You can highlight those pieces that you've covered, or the words that you are tuning into from the Be Brave and Lead and the Be Fearless and Lead sessions. We always put these out on the tables for any session that we're doing, because we're always linking to the Australian curriculum. So we always have multiple copies of these out on tables. End of every day, none left. Everyone always takes them with them.
And every year level?
Every year level. Yes. Yeah. So
and so watch out for those in the new year.
Yes.
On Teachific.
Yep.
And key question 3, what's a tantalising text that you've been using recently, Sharon?
So 5 Mile Press have a book called Wonder Earth, Exploring Our Living Home. Zanny Louise and Tiff Bolhorn are the authors, and the illustrations are by Sophie Louise Smith. So this wonderful Australian publication is, it says, have you ever wondered about our earth home? And of course I could not help but be thinking of this, particularly as you made the acknowledgement to country at the beginning of the podcast, and as you do each week, and as we all do on a daily basis. The earth has so much to share if only we stop, listen and wonder. starting with the sun that gives us and all living things life, to the patterns, feelings, stories and relationships that we share with nature and living things. Let's explore what it means to belong to our earth home. Now, I particularly love this text because it's making some wonderful connections here, and I felt that it was the right text to bring to this podcast in particular. So where this text is, and I guess really geared for our young explorers, so this is a text that encourages exploration and discovery and questioning and wondering. So for each double page, we've got some information that's placed amidst illustrations. But on each page we then have something to do, something to explore, something to be active about. So it's very much about, just like we talked about the Australian curriculum, getting us being active as learners, so does this one. So on this page, the page called Have You Ever Wondered About the Sun? It gives us a whole lot of information. The sun is so big and so strong. Its energy powers nearly everything on Earth, and on it goes. Now, down in the box in the right-hand corner, actually not surprisingly, a big round golden circle looking like a sun. It says, catch a sun smile. Life begins with sun, so start your day by facing the sun. Close your eyes and catch the glow as it spreads through your body. So I just love that on each page there is this action that the reader can take. Now, if I was bringing this to a class, we could do these actions as a class. So have you ever wondered where the water droplet on your nose has been before? And the action for this one, so all kinds of information on the page, but then the action in a big water droplet shape. Dance with water. Hold a droplet on the biggest leaf you can find and sway to and fro. Like, don't you just want to go and do that?
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's absolutely exquisite. Have you ever wondered where your lunch comes from? So we've got a whole lot of information about that. And then in a flower, down in the bottom right-hand corner, make a flower bouquet. Find out which flowers your meal comes from. You can draw your meal as a bunch of flowers. Do I not want to go and look at what are the flowers that made my strawberry or made my zucchini or made my whatever it is? I just think this is just the kinds of text that we want to bring to our students, to not only have them, like, I think all texts help to make us wonder and help to think about what we can explore. But I love that this intentionally gives us some things that we can bring. If we're reading this to our students, that we could actually, as a community, together, we could try these things. Come in at whatever entry point we are and go exploring and discovering. I just find it a completely captivating book. Feel the earth. So I'll just finish off with this one. Lay under a tree and listen to how the plants and the animals around you feel. Connection to country, connection to place, connection to our earth. And I think we can all do with some of that.
Fantastic, Sharon. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today on the podcast. Please subscribe to us on our newsletter, or just simply keep listening to our podcast. Contact us on our Q Learning website. Don't forget, we've got video courses now where you can actually see presenters in action. So have a look on our Q Learning website for those video courses. and also on the Teachific site. I'd like to now say the word teacher in another language, and this makes me think of wonder, Sharon, because the country of Samoa, which I have heard not a lot about, but wouldn't it be great to have a teacher from Samoa contact us and tell us what they think of our podcast,
or how to say the word teacher in Samoan? Is it like how you're about to say it?
That too, but also to tell us a bit about Samoa and the wonder of it.
Yes, and Wonder Earth. Oh, we wonder about that part of the earth.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And what does it feel like to lie in that part of the earth and hear the earth there?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm getting I feel a bit of writing coming on now. Sorry.
Anyway, here's my attempt to say the word teacher in Samoan. Whaianonga. Anyway, I hope I did well there. Please contact us from Samoa if you've got something you'd like to say to us.
It's good to take a risk.
It's good to take a risk.
Yes.
Yes.
Exploring is about that. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for being with us today, and bye for now.
Thank you, whatever part of the earth you are.
Keep on wondering.
Feeling and listening. Yes, wonder, and look forward to catching up with you again another time.
And take great joy with your teaching and your class.
Yes, indeed. Bye, everyone.
Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. To make sure you don't miss any literacy learning tips and insights, please subscribe to our show on your favourite podcast player. At Q Learning, our literacy specialists draw on over 30 years of teaching and international consulting experience to deliver world-class learning solutions. We equip, empower and support teachers to become their authentic selves. To find out about upcoming webinars and about how Q can help you and your school, visit qlearning.com.au. And you can get even more amazing teaching resources right now at teachific.com.au. Stay tuned.